Hi everyone, welcome to the Audio Basics series. I apologize initially for the re-upload of this episode, but I received a bunch of excellent comments which really streamlined the entire process of this, so I felt it was kind of a disservice to leave the old video up. So this episode talks about creating a perfect loop. Whether this is editing a song for a video or podcast background or creating a perfect bed of ambient noise for your music, this skill is incredibly valuable to have in your toolkit. Most DAWs allow you to export your music in a loopable format, which is incredibly convenient. You can see the selectable box in Ableton and also in FL Studio. If you're using a different DAW, just head over to Google and type in how to export a loop, and then add the application of your choice. But after you export a loop, it's always good to check to make sure that that loop was exported properly. Sometimes the audio doesn't render perfectly and just needs to be adjusted a little bit. Or additionally, your settings in your DAW might be incorrect and you have to go back and change those. In this video, I will be using Audacity as my audio editor. I found it to be very easy to use and completely free to download. If you don't have it on your computer already and need a simple audio editor, I highly recommend giving it a look. The link will be in the description below. So let me bring in a perfect loop, and I'll show you what I mean. So you can set Audacity to play in a perfect loop in loop mode by holding down the Shift button and then clicking the top bar where the time marks are. This will start playback where you clicked and will loop back to the beginning. So if I click right here, so when I'll be over here and it's playing in the loop. Now, there's several things that you should be listening for when you're checking to make sure that your audio is a perfect loop. First, you should look for any gaps in your playback. So let me show you an example of that. If you hear a gap, it's possible that the file was generated with some silence at the start or the end of the song. So this is a file with a little bit of a gap in it. So hold Shift, click up here. So you can hear that there was a bit of a gap at the end here. And sure enough, you can see that there is one. Now, the easiest way to do this is to just go up over here and just select what you have. You can zoom in and out using this plus and minus tool over here. Just select it, and then you're good. If you click the Fit Project magnifying glass here, it'll show the entire project again. You can shift-click again. So there's a little bit of a gap at the start as well. So if you click over here and zoom in, yep, so you can go select this and delete. Now, the problem with this, that is kind of the main problem with just deleting the silence, is that it might actually delete some of the the tempo, some of the rhythm in the song itself. So while the silence might be gone, the actual it might skip a beat, or it might like have a half beat at the end. So let's see what it sounds like now. So overall, I think that worked okay. I think that there was a little bit of a shorten in that last beat, but I could go back and look at my DAW, see if I just had my selection area wrong, or what exactly happened there. So the next thing to look for is audio pops and clicks. These are a lot more subtle to find, but really important to diagnose, especially when you are dealing with video game music and stuff that loops very, very frequently. You don't want that really sharp pop at the end of each loop. That's kind of what this sounds like. You can hear that. There's just a very subtle pop right at the end. And this is a little bit more tricky to fix. This is due to the waveform position at the end of the song not matching up with the waveform position of the start of the song. So if I go in here and copy and paste these together, you can see that they're not lined up. And I kind of artificially set this up. So you can see that this one ends way up here and the waveform down here starts here. So that pop comes from the speakers trying to compensate this disparity. So the easiest way to fix this, and this is not something you should really fix in Audacity, but the easiest way to fix this is to zoom in until you see the individual points, and then you can take the pencil tool over here and just kind of draw back down to that point. Again, this is not the most ideal way to do it, but it will fix your initial problem. And then you can go back and delete this. Whoops. So I can just select kind of the midpoint there, shift end to select to the end of the project, hit delete, and then I will zoom out to show the whole project. And now if I shift click here, it should sound a lot better. There was a very, very subtle one in the left speaker, but it was much, much less noticeable. If you are encountering this problem, this is probably an issue with your DAW. This is not something you should try to fix in Audacity. But if you need a quick fix just to make sure if something sounds good when it loops, this is how you do it. So third, you want to ensure that any trailing sounds at the end of your first song is represented in the start of your sound. So any kind of reverb tails or anything that would happen after the loop ends should be pushed into the start of the loop. And I'll show you an example of that. So this is what happens when you don't have that reverb tail. You'll hear that all of the reverb tails and the delay echoes will get very sharply cut off at the end of the loop. You can hear that like high arpeggio does not persist through the loop because it's not being transferred back over to the start. So if you're running into this problem, the most likely scenario is your render settings are incorrect in your DAW. So I would go back and make sure that that loop mode is checked. If your audio passes all of these tests, congrats, you have a perfect loop. Now, say you aren't rendering audio from a DAW, maybe you just have a song you want to turn into a loop, and this requires a little bit more precision. What you need to do in this case is to take the reverb tail, all the echoes, and all of the extra sounds that happen after the song ends, and push that into the start of the loop. So the best way to do that is just kind of look at the waveform, and the more you do this, it'll probably make a lot more sense. But right now, it seems like the loop point or this place where the song ends is right here. But what I'll do is I'll just play it, and then I'll just hit the stop button where it seems like the rhythm would cause it to end. Okay, so we can hear the beats here, so it's doom, doom, ch. So the distance between this and this is about 1.49 seconds. So let's just check this one. 1.51. So I would say it's about 1.5 seconds. So I will go out down here till about 1.5 seconds. And you can see that it's kind of corroborated over here where the main waveform ends. So what I want to do is find a spot that's kind of close to the middle line here. When you copy and paste stuff or when you cut stuff out, you want to make sure that you're close to the 0 as possible because that'll reduce pops and clicks. So what you can do is once you set your point, you can do Shift End to select everything toward the end, Control X to cut, and then click down here. So this layer isn't selected anymore. Click on the space below and hit Control V to paste. And now you can just get rid of some of this extra stuff here. You probably won't need it and hear it. So then if you hit Shift click up here, it will loop and it should sound good. Yeah. So that's really all you have to do in that case. So the final thing that you want to look into is looping ambience. And this is something that comes up a lot when you're working with audio, whether you need something for like background audio for a song or a video game loop or just like a bed of noise for your podcast. It's important to create a loop that is seamless and free from any of the issues that we mentioned earlier. Unfortunately, most field recorded audio and ambient audio does not loop perfectly. Like take these waves, for example, that I grabbed. You can hear that there's like this big swell up right here, and then it just kind of goes back to the normal splashiness from before. And that obviously would not fly. So what we need to do is to find a kind of quiet point in the middle here where there's no real discerning points of audio and zoom way in, and it's all pretty quiet here. So just find something that's close to 0 and do the same thing that you did before in the last section where Shift End, Control X, click down here, Control V. And now the cool thing that we have here is we know that the end of this point of the first layer is exactly matched up with the beginning of this second layer. So what we can do is we can move this out, and then all we have to do is fade between these. So we can just fade this one out right here, fade this one in right here, and we should have a perfect loop. Now, it's in this case, it's pretty innocuous because it's so quiet. But if you're using a louder sample like traffic noises or something else, it's valuable to have this, because that way all of the background noises won't have that little click or pop or silence in between the looping point. So one final word on working with audio, especially looping audio, is that MP3 files cannot loop. If you're running into problems getting a file to loop properly, check to see if you are using an MP3 file, because it will cause severe problems down the road. It's preferred to use a WAV file for seamless looping. However, if file size is an issue, you can also use OGG files as well. So I hope you found this video informative. Consider subscribing to this channel for more music and music tutorials, and thank you so much to these amazing Patreon subscribers who helped make this series possible. Be remarkable.